Welcome to the Playbook for Youth Sports, the podcast where we go beyond the field to explore the business side of the game. I'm your host, Jennifer Peacock. Today, we're diving into how technology is reshaping youth sports and what it takes for clubs to stay competitive in a fast-changing industry, from registration and financial management to communication and data insights. The right tools can make all the difference. Joining me is Kris Baker, president of Demosphere, a company that's been leading innovation in youth sports technology for more than 3 decades. We'll learn how their team-first approach and focus on customer experience are helping organizations operate smarter and more efficiently. Let's dive into it. Hi, Kris.
Hi, Jennifer. Thanks for having me.
Yes, so excited. So, today what we wanted to focus on is you personally, but also Demosphere and the challenges, some of the things that you've overcome. Specifically, what I wanted to start with was really asking you your opinion on what it's like to be in such a competitive space and what sets Demosphere apart from other registration platforms.
Yeah, that's a great question. It's interesting because Demosphere has been around for 36 years now. So being a technology company that predates the internet is unique, right? It has its own unique challenges. And we've certainly seen a lot of things in this space change over the last, 3+ decades. And now we're heading into this new world of AI, which is going to change things dramatically and rapidly in the very near future. But for thinking about Demosphere and sort of what sets us apart, it's got to be more about our team than the platform itself, right? Because anyone can come up with and build good technology solutions.
From the perspective of features, and this is probably a hard question because you probably love them all, but what's your favorite feature?
Well, yeah, so I would say when I think about features, it's got to be those core operational things that organizations have to have in order to operate better. But I think the feature that's really a core differentiator, or what we think is probably the most critical, is the financial reporting aspect of once you've gotten that data and you've collected those fees and you've generated the game schedules and all those things, how can you access that data to help you make decisions to continue developing and growing your club into the future? So we've got a really, really strong, solid financial reporting tools that we have in our platform. Really started doing things with giving customers the ability to visualize their data better and easier, which is going to help with those executive level conversations, those board conversations, making decisions about, what's the 2-year, 3-year, 5-year plan. And as I kind of alluded to earlier, I think with what we can do with AI to access our data faster and better to answer questions, that's really what's on the horizon for us.
So AI as in I am a club. I've got all of this data as far as players, registrations, but then I can ask a question and say, okay, for U13 girls, how many of the same players returned this year versus last year?
Exactly that. Without having to download a spreadsheet and do pivot tables and comparisons, just having the ability to ask a question and get a response using AI to tap into the power of your data, it's the next level. And I'm really excited about it.
What would be so cool is if we could measure time saved from that, because how much time it would take in the past to download those spreadsheets, sort it, look through it, analyze it. That's hours of work.
Yeah. And I think it can be measured. I think part of that is going back to the customer obsession. It's connecting with customers and understanding their pain points and just asking the question, how much time are you spending on this on a given day, month, year, and then trying to find ways to reduce the amount of time that they're spending incrementally, just continuously evolve.
Right. So from the financial management side, you've got reporting. Is it also managing scholarships?
Yeah. So, reporting is going to get down to, and you and I have talked a lot about the team accounts functionality. It's allocating the fees that you're collecting to the proper team to the proper program, making sure that you're able to record that at the accounting code level as you're transitioning from registration into, QuickBooks or whatever you're using for your accounting software. I do think that that is actually a critical piece of the puzzle to think about, because when you're talking about giving out need-based scholarships or financial aid, a lot of times you're collecting sensitive information like tax records and income and things like that. So being able to keep that securely in a platform like ours, I think, is a big win for clubs.
I agree. And kind of going in the weeds a little bit in regards to the team accounts, I still think that's such a fantastic solution. I mean, back again, we're talking before the internet, back before where we are today when
We're dating ourselves, Jennifer.
I know. But managing the team accounts was the biggest headache. There was theft involved
Oh
because
yeah,
the club had no
so much.
visibility into it. And you don't want to think that that was happening, but it really, really was.
Yeah,
So
and frankly, it still is happening. I mean, you can Google youth sports fraud and you're going to find a multitude of reports that this is still happening. And a lot of that is because it's been so decentralized, collecting the fees offline and doing them at the team level. And think about, a lot of this is being done by team managers who are volunteers. There's a lot of risk that goes into that, and a lot of uncollected funds and no reporting and just a lot of liability there. So yes, the team accounts and being able to collect and track fees at the team level is a really important topic for organizations to make sure they're using best practices.
So just again, question on that. Would it be set up to where at the club level, I have access to see into everybody's team account?
Yeah, yeah.
And then, but I'm the owner of the account?
Yes, yes. And managing oversight is a critical piece that everyone should maintain at an organizational level.
So do I have any liability if, say, the manager overdraws the account?
Well, if it's set up properly, it would be done not as credit, but as more like debit and expense management.
That was one of the challenges before, was like when you would have team accounts under the club, you had no control. They would overdraft them, and then the club was responsible for all of the overdraft fees.
Yeah, the best way to do it is in the form of like a digital, either a physical or a digital debit card, right? To where the transactions are only going to allow you to spend what you have.
Okay, so how does Demosphere balance new trends in the market, and how do you like prioritize what you want to develop? You must get thousands of requests from everybody who wants you to build something.
Oh yeah. That's the magic question, right? The $1 million question. So the short answer to that is just having a pulse on our customers. We've actually created a customer advisory board at Demosphere where we proactively discuss one-on-one and in small group settings what are the biggest challenges that our customers are facing, so that we can constantly be evolving solutions that are going to meet the biggest needs. If you sit around and wait for the squeaky wheel to complain and you jump on every one of those things, it's very easy to get lost.
And so other than AI, what trends do you see coming in the space that you're focusing on?
So really, the two main things are going to be consolidation of platforms, right? So you
Right.
want, and this is a fine line too, because there's a challenge of trying to be everything to everyone, right? And it's not possible. So you really have to kind of pick your lane. Where do you want to be? Where do you feel you can be successful? So just making sure that you're going really deep on that solution to provide the best possible experience you can for your customers.
Well, and I think the point of what you're saying of you've got the pulse in the market by being engaged. So question for you personally, because you've been doing this for a long time and you see a lot of the challenges that clubs face, what is one piece of advice that you would give a club operator that are trying to grow and operate better?
Build a network, build a community, connect with as many people as you can to share ideas rather than trying to reinvent the wheel. Like there's so many groups out there that are just trying to, figure out there's a problem that needs to be solved. It most likely has been solved by somebody else. And so tap it. That's what evolution is all about, right? It's like you're not constantly reinventing the wheel. You're building off of what someone has already built and already done. It's so much easier to iterate and improve than it is to create from scratch. You've got to stay focused on what's happening in the space, whether it's by tapping into the partners that you already work with or creating a new network of, colleagues who are doing similar things. So, whether you're a Demosphere customer or you're using another platform, engaged with your provider, with your partner, and find out what's happening with the platform. Make sure you're using best practices. Make sure you know about all the new features that are coming out. Take a few minutes to read the information that's being shared and disseminated so that you're not stuck in a rut and doing the same thing just because it's the way you've always done it.
Yeah, I would also say look at things from your customer's perspective, their customer's perspective. Because when we've been in a space for a very long time, I think it's sometimes easy to just think that people should automatically know something. But in youth sports specifically, it's constantly new people entering into this market that have no idea what it means to commit to a competitive program and the contract that I'm signing and the financial obligation that goes with that, or the no refund policy, or any of those nuances that are specific to youth sports. I think it's important to really look at it from your customer's perspective.
Yes, yes. So when I was talking earlier about like taking a pulse on your customers constantly, whether that's, us or the club doing it with their members, really understanding what their experience is. So I agree with you that, put yourself in your customer's shoes. It's the golden rule. My mom always talked about the golden rule. Like, provide the experience that you would like to see if you are the customer.
Yeah, definitely. So, from a financial management, because again, at the beginning, we were talking about, one of the strengths of Demosphere is utilizing all of your resources to manage their finances. So, I would be remiss to not bring up registration protection for sports
Of
fees.
course.
So,
Of
I
course.
feel like that is obviously a new feature rolled out by Demosphere.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, even though we know that it's not a new concept, I think it is a relatively young concept in the youth sports space, and there still needs to be some additional market education so people really understand the true value. When people say the word insurance, everybody like plugs their ears, right? But if you understand the real benefits and the real value that it brings to the table for protecting your dollars, both at the parent level, but also at the organizational level, it's giving them an option to deal with unexpected life changes, which we all have. And it's one of those things too where sometimes you don't understand the value until it's too late. And so through proactive education, I think we can help people protect themselves a little better. And so I think it's just another way that we've extended our platform to provide a stronger solution for our members,
Right.
while also allowing them to provide a little bit more protection for their own customers.
So, Kris, in regards to how you decide what to focus on and prioritize in your roadmap, how'd you come to decide when to embed the insurance offer from Vertical Insure?
Yeah, that's actually a great question, especially because it's not like we're in these customer advisory groups and they're saying, hey, we need embedded insurance. It's one of those scenarios where sometimes, because of our expertise, experience, and our connections, we can think ahead at what we think would be a good solution for our customers even before they're asking for it or thinking about it. So the reasons why we chose to partner up with you guys is really because of, you're managing your risk, your benefits for the club is you're protecting your revenue by offering the ability to do the refund, protection policy. So you're protecting your revenue. At the same time, if there are potential situations where you're offering these policies and the member decides to opt out of that policy and then later has an issue and their refund's not covered and they do a chargeback, which all organizations are familiar with, the dreaded chargeback scenario, which oftentimes feels out of your control. The vertical insure solution actually allows them to take a little bit more control over that situation and say, hey, listen, we provided this policy. This is what it covered. The member opted out. And we've actually seen in probably about 72% of the cases, I think that's our statistic there, is that when we do fight or dispute the chargebacks, we are able to get them reversed in that situation. So it's good protection.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that that's just an additional surprise benefit that from the insurance side that we weren't really expecting that to be a benefit. But I love it when there's additional win-win situations that occur.
One of the other scenarios that I found to be most well received by the clubs is thinking about the payment plans.
Mhm.
Right. So, I mean, we're talking $3,000 to $10,000 a year parents are spending for their kids to participate in some of these, these sports on an annual basis. And most of the time, there's going to be spread out over a payment. So when we're talking about protecting your revenue, when there is a covered event that happens, the organization's future payments are protected under that policy, which can be massive. It can be a massive amount of money.
Yes.
So that's been very well received by the clubs.
For sure. It is not just about protecting the parent, which it still is because they financially obligate themselves to commit to whatever that is, $10,000, $5,000, that financial obligation. When something happens and the athlete is removed from the program and they have the insurance, if there's a balance owed to that club, the club is paid. And so this is just such a great revenue protection policy for the organization and refund solution for the consumer. I
Definitely. If
definitely believe in it.
any organization that has payment plans, it should be a no-brainer to
Yes,
even
for sure.
think about offering this.
Okay, so if I could give you a magic genie wish, you could have anything you wanted related to youth sports, but in 5 years, magic genie, anything, no limits whatsoever. What
Okay.
problem would you solve?
There's so many things that I could say on this topic. I think the number one area has to be related to the players, right? Because that's what we're all doing it for, is creating a positive, safe environment for players. So, I'd really like to see some drastic shifts in how we prioritize player development and how we allocate our dollars back into the youth sports space. So much attention and time is being spent on the elite players,
Right.
which obviously, there's an important aspect of that, right? We want to give those elite players an opportunity to succeed and grow and become professional athletes if that's what they want. But they're in such the minority that we really need to make sure that we're allocating the proper resources at the grassroots level to build our communities, to connect people together, and to give every single player that pathway, right? Because if we always focus on the elite player, they're the ones that can afford to play at that level. We're going to be missing out on so many of these grassroots players who could have quickly evolved into that space and had an equal opportunity to play despite financial challenges. So, there's some organizations out there that I think are doing a good job in this area, but I'd say for me, that's the primary thing that needs to change in youth sports that I would love to, sprinkle my magic fairy dust and sort of flip the script a little bit and go bottom up instead of top down.
Love that. I do. I think that that's great. And I think part of that messaging would be some of the stories that go around it of sports develop personality and character. The lessons that come from it are so much more than playing in college or pro.
You make such a good point there. And actually, I was talking with an executive director of a state association yesterday. And one of the things that he was commenting on that I totally agree with is like, you go to the U Sports website and it's like, oh, we had this many scholarships and this many college commits, and they really highlight their elite athletes. But what about the kids who are first generation college, whether or not they played sports in college? We gave that young child an opportunity to grow and develop as a human being, and they were able to make all these achievements in their life regardless of sport or becoming pro or anything like that. So I do think highlighting some of those types of just like everyday successes is important too.
I was at a conference last year and it was that topic, and there was one takeaway that honestly made me sit down and think about it. And it was exactly that, on how many clubs are promoting, how many signed for NLI, right? Well, club, how many of you are promoting every single senior's LinkedIn profile?
Yeah.
Like that could be a one easy takeaway action for every club. Let's not just promote who signed and committed to play in college, which may have been a $25 scholarship, let's be real, versus who is going to college for the first time or
Yeah.
starting a business
Or who's joining the Peace Corps or who got an internship at some, really cool thing. Like our school systems do that, right?
Right.
For seniors who are graduating, they do a really great job of highlighting that kind of stuff. So it would be really easy for clubs to implement something like that.
Okay, so since we said it, in 5
It's
years,
gotta be a thing.
it's going to happen.
Yes. Our magic fairy dust is coming to life. Yes.
Well, thank you. I appreciate your time, and I think this was a great conversation.
Yes, I totally agree. Thank you, my friend. Thanks for having me.
That's it for today's episode of the Playbook for Youth Sports. If you found today's conversation helpful, make sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. We'll be back soon with more stories and strategies to help you grow and strengthen your organization. Until next time, keep building, keep leading, and keep playing.